Buffalo Soldiers, pioneers of social change in America. During the Civil War, over 180,000 African Americans fought for the Union Army. 33,000 of these brave soldiers made the ultimate sacrifice for their freedom and their right to be respected as men. Among the most distinguished unit of black troops was the 54th Massachusetts. The Fighting 54th, as they were called, fought primarily battles in the state of South Carolina. Their most famous battle was the battle for Fort Wagner, South Carolina, on July 18, 1862. This particular battle was made famous in the movie Glory, which starred Denzel Washington, and it was in 1995. In this actual battle, Sergeant William Carney received the Medal of Honor. He was the first African American to do so. The formation of the Buffalo Soldiers. In 1866, Congress passed the Army Reorganization Act. It called for the creation of 2 regiments of cavalry and 2 regiments of infantry. These units were composed of black troops commanded by white officers. All 4 regiments primarily served on what we call the Western Frontier. Who were they? The Buffalo Soldiers were made up of former slaves that had been freed after the Civil War, African Americans who had served in the Union Army during the Civil War, and free blacks that primarily came from the North. The Native American tribes who fought against these African American troops named them Buffalo Soldiers out of respect for their fierceness in battle. It reminded these Native American tribes of the fierceness of the buffalo. The tasks that were given to the Buffalo Soldiers. Number 1, protecting the settlers as they moved to the west. Number 2, building roads and other infrastructure on the western frontier. Controlling the Indian population on the frontier. Guarding stagecoaches, mail routes, railroads, and surveying and mapping well over 95% of the land in the West. Buffalo Soldiers served with distinction on the western frontier from 1866 to 1900. They served from the Canadian border all the way down to the Mexican border. Some of the officers that helped to command the Buffalo Soldiers, the first commander of the 10th Cavalry was a Colonel Robert Grierson. There were also African American officers who also fought with the Buffalo Soldiers. Henry O. Flipper. He was the first African American graduate from West Point. He served with the Buffalo Soldiers, the 10th Cavalry primarily, at Fort Davis, Texas. Flipper was born in Thomasville, Georgia. Another famous and outstanding African American officer was John Hanks Alexander. Alexander was the second African American West Point graduate. He served with the Buffalo Soldiers' 9th Cavalry, primarily out of Fort Robinson, Nebraska. Alexander was born in West Helena, Arkansas. The most famous and most decorated of the officers who served with the Buffalo Soldiers was Colonel Charles Young. He's the 3rd African American West Point graduate. He served with the 9th and the 10th Cavalry, and Colonel Young was the first African American to reach the rank of colonel in any of the U.S. forces. He was born in Mays Lick, Virginia. Cathay Williams, female Buffalo Soldier. She served from 1866 to 1868. Posing as a man under the name of William Cathay, she is recorded as the first African American woman to enlist in the United States Army. In June of 1992, at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, under the auspices of then General Colin Powell, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Buffalo Soldier Monument was dedicated at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. Buffalo soldiers served at such places as Fort Riley, Kansas, Fort Stockton, Texas, in the Arizona Territory, Fort Mizzola, Montana. The first Buffalo soldier to receive the Medal of Honor was a gentleman by the name of Augustus Wiley. Sergeant Brent Woods, also a recipient of the Medal of Honor. During the Civil War, 17 African American soldiers and sailors received the Medal of Honor. During the Frontier Wars from 1866 to 1890, 19 African American soldiers received the Medal of Honor. The Buffalo Soldiers continued their ride into history. Buffalo soldiers served in the Spanish-American War from 1898 to 1899. They also fought on the battlefields of World War I. They also served honorably in World War II. They received a large number of medals in World War II. We all should salute these brave men and women pioneers of social change. They continue to serve today.